Yo, on today's episode, I'm going to get super real. I'm going to talk about how it's not just as easy to start your fitness journey as some people would make it seem, how important it is for your total environment to actually be on your side for you to progress in your fitness journey. Today's episode is going to be real. I hope you're ready for it. Yo, what is up? Welcome back. It is the Make It Make Sense Health and Fitness Podcast. I am your coach and your host, Coach Frank. No, I am your host, Coach Frank. All right. So, like I said, today's episode is going to be real. Today, I'm going to be talking about a situation when I was a trainer at LA Fitness. Of course, when you start as a trainer, or you know what, when I started as a trainer, my goal was to change people's lives because when I started on my own fitness journey, and I tell people all the time, like I was not where I am now. My starting point was different. I was coming off a car accident that left me with two bulging discs in my lower back. I was about 140 pounds. I was dealing with a little bit of depression because of the accident, things like that. So I understand how it is, or I understand the journey of building yourself up from an emotional and mental standpoint to even to get yourself to a level to be able to build on your physical, right? So when I got into training, that was my goal. I wanted to help people, achieve a different level of emotional and mental fitness, not just the physical part. So this story goes back to when I was a trainer at LA Fitness. Um, being from Florida, and just my background, I had a lot of friends in Florida that were from New York. So the New York sort of personality, I've been around for years. I get it. The blunt there, and I don't want to stereotype anyone. I'm just saying though, it's typical with Northeast New Yorkers. They're very blunt, direct to the point. Um, some people say they're a little rough around the edges or whatever. To me, that was just how I grew up. So I was very used to it, right? And I only say that to say that this client that I was working with, she was from New York, and she had when on day one she had this stereotypical New York attitude. Yeah, Frank, you just just I like I said, I get it. It was cool. And I enjoyed it. It gave me a little bit of taste of back home because I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona, but I had not many people from New York and Phoenix. So when I did, meet someone with that attitude, it was kind of refreshing, and I've always been the type, even when I first started training, like I don't care about your attitude or your personality when we're training. As long as you're putting in the work, you can do whatever. Because told my clients numerous times, like my trainers, man, listen, I'll just say that as a trainer that's also a trainee at times, I understand what they go through. So as long as you put in the work, it doesn't matter. Just do the work. But anyway, so this particular client, she had she was married, but she had four kids, Hispanic. She was a bit overweight. And so on our initial conversation or the consultation and what her goals were and what her hurdles were, we were talking, and she was just telling me that she wanted to show her kids that no matter where you are, who you are, that you can change as long as you want to, and as long as you're willing to put in the work. So for me as a trainer, like I love that kind of talk. I love when people have an honest motivation. And and it's so important that I always ask my clients, what is your honest motivation? Basically, what is the reason that you're going to continue to do the work that I'm telling you to do, even if I'm not in front of you? So her honest motivation was showing her kids. So, we're progressing, we're training for a few weeks, and she's just putting in the work and she's working hard. And I love it. I love it. But then one day she comes in, and it's just a total flip. It's not the personality of hers anymore. It's now she's just really just pushing back, just not wanting to do anything at all. And so I asked, we go back and forth a little bit, and I ask her, I'm like, hey, you know, um, is everything all right? You know, like what's going on today? And she's like, "Nah, Frank, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And I'm like, and so we try to train, and she's just like, and she's giving me a lot of I can'ts, that she can't do this and she can't do that. And but she's never been like that. You know what I mean? So I stopped the session again. I'm like, hey, look, I understand, on your journey that it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be hard, and I get that not everyone in your life is not going to want you to do well on this journey or complete this journey. And when I said that, she just like started bawling, just started crying. And now this is like a busy part of the day, so I can't have someone sitting there, crying, on the gym floor, um, with a bunch of members walking around. So I took her into one of the cycle rooms, and we're in there, and I'm like, hey, 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 what's going on? What happened? Did I do something? Like, are you okay? What's going on? And she was like, Frank, it's just so hard. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we've done these exercises before. What's so hard? She's like, no, Frank, not this. It's so hard to get here. And I was like, so what do you mean? Like, you having car problems? Like, well, she's like, no, Frank, it's my husband. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What's going on? She's like, Frank, like every day of my training session, he just starts from the moment I wake up, just telling me that it's a waste, that I'm wasting money, that I'm wasting my time, that I'm never gonna change, that I'm always gonna be fat. And just a timeout pause right here. One thing that I don't accept from my clients is being negative about themselves. And also, I don't allow them to use the F word. I don't like, because to me, fat always has a negative connotation. It's never positive. So I don't like when my clients call themselves that, or they try to relate to being that. Fat is a macronutrient that's part of your nutrition and what you eat, but you are not fat. So I really I have a problem with that. People calling themselves fat and people being called fat. I don't like it. But back to the story. So, she's telling me that, yeah, Frank, from the time I wake up, he's just always, you're fat now. You're always gonna be fat. No one's ever gonna love you. You're lucky that you have me. You shouldn't be going to this trainer. You shouldn't be going to waste money. And and as a trainer, that's the first time that I'd actually dealt with something like that. I hadn't had to connect with someone on that type of a level before. So, she was telling me this, and I was like, hey, I I can only imagine what you're going through. I can't understand, why your husband who said he loves you would treat you this way. Um, but what I will say is that, when you and I first talked, your goal was to show your kids something better. And I think it would be harmful if you showed your kids that if it's okay for someone to take you away from your journey, that it's okay to bow down, so to speak, and allow that type of negativity keep you from achieving your goal. They're going to learn that also. And and she was just like, Frank, it's just so hard. Like, I'm trying. And I was like, and it's breaking my heart, but there's nothing I can do. So I told her, don't worry about today's session. We'll make it up on the back end. Just sit here, just clean yourself up. Go to the locker room. I'll let you, clean yourself up here. Go to the bathroom. Just go do some cardio, whatever. So she went to the locker rooms, and it just bothered me. And she ended up doing some cardio, and she left. And then like she didn't show up for like her next couple sessions. So I was calling her, and she wasn't answering. She wasn't answering any texts. Um, and I never saw her again. I can only hope that, she found a way to convince her husband that, the journey she was on was correct for her and for their kids. Um, Unfortunately, I doubt it. Um, but I have always wished her the best, and just, it's one of those things that I've come to learn, that as a trainer, of course, most people think, well, I ain't gonna say that, a lot of people think that, training is just, um, I don't know. A lot of trainers, I've heard, I'll say train from the trainer standpoint. I know get into the profession solely for the money. And for me, because I started at a point where I was low um, on an emotional standpoint, because I mean, I was in my 30s, I was 140 pounds, I was my body didn't work the same way because of my injury. So mentally, I wasn't, feeling complete. And then, physically, I'm undersized. And, so emotionally that does a thing. So once I was able to grow in those aspects and then see how it then changed me physically, like my goal as a trainer is to help people do that. Like my goal is literally just to change people's lives for the better. Um, so when I get in these, I make sure that when I have a consultation with a client, or when I am training someone, that it's not just a situation where I'm just pushing them off. It is that I do have an understanding of the fitness journey being not just physical, it is emotional and it is mental. And as a trainer and as a coach, I have a responsibility to understand all those things and to help my clients with those things. um but yeah, man, that was a situation that, I was never very happy with how it ended. It was totally unfortunate. I do wish I could have kept working with her. But like I said, I never saw her again. But what I want you to understand, or take away from the story today, is that, you know, we're really not setting any precedents with hardship. There are gonna be hurdles, there are gonna be roadblocks on any type of a journey, whether it's a fitness journey, employment, education, whatever it is. There are gonna be things in the way. You just have to make sure that you are so steadfast and so focused on your goal that you find a way over the hurdles and you find a way through the roadblocks, whether it's leaving a situation or reaching out to someone for help. At the end of the day, when you're on a journey to of a goal, you have to be somewhat selfish in the completion of that goal, because you're going to have to think about you and to be able to be able to complete that goal. All right, so that's today's story. I'll come back and tell some more about this, because I know that her situation, she's not the only one that deals with that. I know it's out there. I know it happens. So if this story of this situation, touched you, or you were able to relate to it, leave a like, leave a comment, message me. I have tips and things that'll help you along the way. If you know a friend that's in a situation and you think this video would help them to sort of understand that, hey, you know what, I'm not the only one. Because when people realize they're not the only one involved in a situation and someone was able to get out of it, then they realize so are they. So if it's you or you know a friend, like, comment, leave a message, subscribe. Of course, it's to make it make sense. Health and fitness podcast. I do everything I can to make your fitness journey better. Y'all know who it is. It's me, Coach Frank. And y'all know the motto: be grinding or be nothing. Peace.
FranklyPHit.